This is an old land and an old town, Sahab in Jordan. It lies in Arab lands where the September water shortage worries farmers like Ahmad Yasin Salaman. Ahmad has worked hard all his life. His son Yassin is 10 years old. Tysir is only 9. Ahmad's family also includes his wife, Lila, and daughter, Aisha. Aisha and mother spread out the family's bedding to air on the roof during the coming day. Yassin sees a dust cloud and is trying to make out what is coming down the road leading past his home. It is something unusual, for it's traveling too fast to be a caravan or horseback rider, and it's much too early for the bus. Yassin makes out that it's a truck from a bigger village nearby. But there is work to do. Fields to plow, food to cook, sheep to look after. A high wall surrounds not only the house, but shelters for the animals and the tools and the small courtyard as well. Everyone in the family has a job to do. Tysir's job is to take the family's 2 sheep to the village shepherd. Aisha's first duty each morning is to sweep the hard-packed earth floor of the courtyard. Yassin helps father. They load the tools needed for the day's farming on the back of the family camel, and father lets Yassin ride for a little way. On the way, they pass the truck. It is most unusual to see a truck in the streets of Sahab. Their job this morning is to get water to the plants they are trying to grow. Although there's scarcely a living thing to be seen here, this is their new fruit orchard. Under the pile of rocks that Yassin takes carefully apart is a young fig tree. The rock cover protects the small tree from the sheep and goats. It also helps to prevent the small amount of water they can spare for it from evaporating too fast in the hot, dry air. Father has sent Yassin to the family's well. Water is so precious here, a well is always carefully locked. The wells of the village supply enough water for people and animals, but there is only a little left to grow a few vegetables and fruits. In very dry years, there is no water to spare for the trees. But now it is time for Yassin to go to school. Meanwhile, Tysir has reached the herd. He turns the sheep over to a hired shepherd. Food for the animals is scarce on the desert. They must wander during the cool hours to find the scant growth. Today, there is a government-supported school in Sahab. Father is one of the few men in Sahab who learned to read and write in Arabic. He learned from a religious leader. But now, every boy has a chance to learn. Yassin takes off his keffiyeh. So does Tysir. Schooling is very important. Too many of the grown-ups in Sahab cannot read or write at all. The boys of Sahab know the value of learning. The boys learn to read and write 2 languages, English and their own language, Arabic. Of course, they learn other things too, like arithmetic and geography and history, but right now the class is learning English. It is hard to learn a strange language, especially when it looks so different and reads from left to right. Arabic is easier for Yassin. For him, it reads in the correct direction. While her brothers are in school, Aisha goes to the well to get water for cooking and drinking. She carries the earthen jar easily on her head. There is no school for girls in the village, so Aisha stays at home and helps Mother. Mother is making bread, as she does each morning. The water that Aisha has brought is needed to finish the dough for bread. Aisha churns camel milk in an animal skin bag. Mother takes the bread to a warm place where it will rise before it is baked, while Aisha, finished with her churning, pours out the butter and milk. After the bread has risen, Mother takes it to the oven in the family's courtyard. Inside, Mother brushes away the hot ashes on top of the metal pan in which she bakes the bread. The fire was lighted some time ago, but is now burned down. Mother shapes the bread into round loaves and puts it into the hot pan, where it will bake in a few minutes. With the house tidy and food for the day prepared, Aisha and Mother find quiet work to do as the day gets warmer. Aisha embroiders. As in most Arab lands, the patterns are set by local customs and tradition. Out of wheat straw she has dyed, Mother makes a mat. Maybe for decoration, maybe for a table covering, maybe to cover a dish. There are no living things in Mother's design. Her religion forbids it. The tools Mother and Aisha use for their work are simple, but both are skilled in the use of these tools. Meanwhile, Father is busy plowing. Each year, he sows a large field with wheat, and if there are 3 or 4 rains during the winter, his crop will get enough water to grow. The family's camel pulls the old-fashioned plow. Its broad feet help it in the sandy soil. Transportation, milk, and hair for making cloth all come from the family camel. The plowing goes on, hot, hard, heavy work. The sun grows hotter and hotter, and finally it's too hot to work in the open anymore. Father finds a shady spot and rests until the worst heat of the day is over. The sheep are too hot to graze. There is no shelter on the hot plain beyond the village, so they huddle together, seeking the shade of each other's bodies. The village is very quiet. Everyone who can has gone inside to escape the fierce heat of the noonday sun. It is late afternoon, and school is over for the day. Yassin and Tysir are on their way through the village streets. The boys stop for a moment to say hello to their uncle, who runs the cloth shop, one of the few such shops in the village. Between them, the boys have one small coin, so they stop at a candy store. The shopkeeper wonders if they're ever going to make up their minds. They finally do, and the deal is made. The hard sugar candy is made in Damascus. The boys often stop at the mill on the edge of town to see the miller and his helpers grinding wheat into flour. A few years ago, the village women ground their grain between 2 stones to make flour, but now everyone takes the wheat to the mill. The flour mill is powered by a big engine. The boys always like to watch it work because it's the only thing of its kind in the village. But now two friends of Yassin and Tysir call them to play one of their favorite games. It's a game very much like hopscotch. You toss a stone into a square and then pick it up, hopping on one foot without touching the lines with either your foot or the stone. If you miss, you lose your turn and give the stone to the next boy in line. This is a very popular game for Arabian boys who often spend hours playing it. But well before dark, the boys must leave the game and do their evening chores. Tysir gets the family sheep and takes them home. Yassin goes to the field where Father has been plowing and helps gather up the tools to take them home for the night. At the end of a hard day, the field seems to be a long way from town. Yassin is glad to ride home. As Yassin and his father enter the village, two Bedouins who live on the desert stop to say hello. Yassin sees the beautiful Arab horses and admires the Bedouins for their fine animals and free life. But when he stops to think, he is glad to have the camel. Yassin can see that the horses are fast and beautiful, but the tired old camel is much more important to Yassin and his family than any horse could be. The setting sun catches them still not quite home. Father and the boys are all tired and hungry. But before the family can enjoy its evening meal, they must clean up. Father must be especially careful, for once again it is time to pray to Allah. Father is the religious leader of the family. Like most other Arabs, he is a Muslim. Each day he prays 5 times, following a pattern set in the Quran, the Muslim holy book. And then it is time for the evening meal. Aisha serves the meal as most daughters in Arab lands do. Mother makes the coffee, which is so important in the home life of Arab families. A meal is more than merely the satisfaction of hunger. It is a ritual of friendship. Tonight, as a special treat, Father tells stories. Stories about the ancient glories of Arabia. About Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. About Sinbad the Sailor, or Aladdin and his lamp. Or maybe about the kings and princes of the olden times.